I don't like to keep my partners at like too much of an arm's length, because then their ability to care as much as I do is limited. You want them to like understand the product experience to the point in which they're like, wait, I have an idea to make it better. The best teams you get to work with are also the ones that care as much about the product as you do.
In today's world, how does a brand break through the noise and become iconic? Join me, Jason Harris, as I speak with the world's leading marketing experts about how they use soul and science to build an iconic brand. Think of it as EQ meeting IQ. So let's lock in and together fast forward our marketing minds on the Soul and Science podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Bryant Brennan. So today I want to talk to you about the soul and science of in-house creative innovation. I know you have a lot of experience with building tech-focused brands from the ground up, from the inside out. First time I got a glimpse of this was when you were head of global creative at Peloton, and Mechanism worked on, dozens and dozens of campaigns with you. Now you're the CCO at Fi, and we'll talk about what Fi is and how you're marketing it. But I'm excited to talk to you about some of the nuances of in-house creative teams versus partnering with agencies, and how you specifically think about growing the brands that you work on through creativity. Welcome to the podcast, Bryant.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Excited to be here.
It's good to be reconnected, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Tell me about your origin story, how you got into marketing and the creative side of marketing. Is it something you always wanted to do, or did it kind of fall into your lap?
Well, first, I live right outside New York, but originally from just north of Boston. Big family. Big Irish Catholic family, 6 of us in the family. And everyone is a little bit creatively inclined. And when I was younger, my sister-in-law actually was an illustrator. She was a creative director on her own. So I used to help her do some of that work as I kind of came up through high school and in college. So actually pretty early in high school, I had said that I wanted to be a creative director. Not that I knew what the hell that was. What that would entail, the idea of advertising versus something else. But I kind of knew early-ish, roundabout ways that I wanted to be in this field. And then I went to school up there. I got my design degree. I ended up coming down to New York for a girl who ended up becoming my wife. Now we have kids. And,
amazing.
Got my little dog. So I've always been kind of like in this world. I think what was unexpected is, typically you come up within a creative agency, that could be advertising, or maybe it's in, product design, the design world. I spent the majority of my career, which I'm sure we're going to jump into, on the brand side, and particularly around startups, and then jumping into larger corporations too, but mostly on the brand side, building teams and, figuring out design and creative within the constraints of a company.
When you got out of school, did you think about, I want to go, agency side? Do you want to work at an advertising agency or a design agency?
Yeah. I jumped around a little bit, like freelance contract, draft, Mullen.
Okay.
And, some stuff on my own, just trying to pick up work.
Yeah.
Those first few years of a creative's life are usually pretty poor. My wife's an art teacher, and she made more money than I did for a long period of time. I thought that I would be on the agency side. And then I ended up at this startup called Index Stock Imagery. And they needed a designer to come in and, do some of their product e-commerce design, their branding. And what I realized really quickly is that, geez, I loved like doing all the work. Like, throw me into something I didn't know, and I love to tackle the challenge of trying to figure it out for the company. So I just wore a lot of hats in that role at a very young age, and you got to see how the business was doing. Like, every week you're looking at performance.
Yeah.
And I was just excited about the fact that by quarter, a company would be looking at their numbers, and you'd have to quickly pivot into something new for the next quarter to make sure you're making revenue, or you're trying to figure something else that your consumers, your clients or consumers or members are reacting to. And everyone internally needs to pivot. That could be the design side or creative side. It could be on the production or engineering side too. Like all of a sudden everyone is singing from the same hymnal and you're pivoting into something else. And, there's a lot of like kind of teamwork in that effort.
And then from there, you went to Barnes and Noble, right?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
jumped to a larger company. Came in again, like art director, designer type. It was during a period of time where Barnes and Noble was actually pretty aggressive on their own innovation. It's during digital reading, and they had their own Nook
It came
devices.
out with a Nook. Yeah. Yeah.
They're revamping all their e-com and their storefronts. So a lot of expansion, toys and games. Like if you remember back then, like Barnes and Noble was cool. Like you go to the stores, which I loved to go to the stores back then, and you were just saturated with reading and education. And I think at that period of time in my career, I was just really fascinated again by being within the walls of a company. Now,
Yeah.
very different from a startup because a larger corporation, but within like half of my time there, we spun off into Nook, which was all digital reading. So I got to work on that brand from scratch.
So cool.
Yeah, all the creative side and then the product. I think that's the moment I really fell in love with launching products. I'd done some of it before, but I was never like head of. And Barnes and Noble, the leadership there gave me the opportunity to kind of lead a lot of the product launches
Yeah.
on the creative and marketing side. And I think I realized then is like that's where when you love a product and you're working on that product, you can bring the best out of it on that brand, the brand marketing side, the creativity side, but also just like you're so in it that you understand all the nuances to make it better. Plus, when that's right when I had my son, Cooper, and reading to him on a product that I, in part, helped to make,
Was awesome.
it was like incredible.
And that
Like,
sort of like got you into the tech side of things, right? Because that was really
correct.
a tech product.
Yeah, yeah.
And then from Barnes and Noble, where'd you go?
So after Barnes and Noble, I went to surprise, surprise, another startup. This company was called Savant.
I had a spot system in my apartment.
You did? Are
I
you due
did.
now?
No, I don't now. In my last apartment, I had it.
So I don't know when you had it, but we rebranded that entire company.
Yeah.
Both on like the top level identity system, but also on all their interfaces. So just making their interfaces look premium and cool and fresh, and an evolution from what is typical in that space can be a little bit kind of clunky. I was offered to make a studio down in Soho, so I built a studio, 30-person team
Oh, cool.
down in Princeton Broadway, covered kind of similar to like the span of my career. I guess the last 60-70% of my career, which is building teams that cover off on like all the touch points. So it had a product design group, packaging group, uh, brand expression, and then like marketing. So like, how do we think about all of our creative marketing campaigns?
And then you went to Peloton.
Yeah. So at both Barnes and Noble and Savant, I had known the leadership, like the William Lynch, John Foley. John Foley I worked for at Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
He's the founder of Peloton. So when he spun that up and it really began to take flight and catch fire as a product and a category, I got the phone call like, "Hey, come over here. We're doing something special." And John always says something that I have transferred to my teams, which is, you want to make your masterpiece when you come into this company. And I believe that's what he allowed me to do. It became like a blank canvas. When I came into Peloton, it was taken what they had as a brand and really beginning to evolve it and express it in all the different channels and ways in which would make consumers and our members just really excited, just really cohesive and
Yeah.
tight.
When were you at Peloton when you knew it was kind of exploding?
So I joined Peloton in 2017, right around the same time that you had done the first commercial
Right.
for Hello, Let's Go.
Yeah.
And they were already on that kind of precipice. We're still like a little bit less than 100,000 members,
Yeah.
and that scaled all the way to 7 million members.
Yeah.
Brand awareness was around 20, maybe 30%. Probably, I think it was still in the 20s at that point. So we were right at this kind of turning point, I believe. When I came in, that team was about 3 people with some contractors. And the opportunity there was to scale the group.
Build out a team. Yeah.
Yeah, build out a team, make it a foundational element of the business, make sure the decisions that we make across product and marketing, the wedge in there is design and creative, and build something that can be just really cohesive and special. And I feel like that's what we did. I mean, a lot of that was partnering with you and the team at MEC, unlike our above the line work, all of our biggest awareness projects. But then it was all the way down. So it was performance, it was life cycle, it was retail, it was experiential. Any one of those touch points, when I came into Peloton, had a lot of care for it. And I believe that.
How big was the team like at its peak?
At its peak, we were 100, a little plus minus 125 people.
Wow, that's massive.
Yeah. I mean, that's as big as an agency, but a pretty big agency. But we covered essentially a lot of different types of agencies. So we had packaging design, we had performance advertising, we had all life cycle, we had all of our digital properties, so web and point of purchase digital platforms, and we also had retail. So like, how do we build out our retail spaces?
Right.
Yeah. So it really cut across a lot of different types, which was interesting.
And then tell me about your current role.
So current role is at a company called Phi. I'm the CCO of the company. I oversee 3 functional groups. Bear with me; they're not as big as what I just told you about at Peloton, but it's product design, it's brand creative, and then what I call just like brand at large. So how do we think about the consumer? What's our brand positioning? Who's our customer? Stuff like that. So here's the question, Jason. Do you have Apple Watch or Whoop, maybe an Oura Ring, any one of those?
I got Whoop.
All right, so you got the Whoop.
We did a brand campaign for Whoop.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to tell me about that, because my ACD in the team is from Whoop, Ursula.
Oh, yeah. I'm hardcore addicted to Whoop.
All right, so you want to know everything about your body, right?
Yes.
So what Phi offers is similar type of technology, but it's for your dog. So for our dogs, like, the immortal question is understanding them. We never really know what's up. Are they sick? Are they all right? Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they safe? And Phi started in 2017. Jonathan Ben Simone is the founder. And with the idea of, I want to keep my dog safe. So it was built under the single point feature around tracking, right? So I want to know where my dog is. If my dog were to run away, I can easily be able to find him or her.
So it's like an air tag and a collar is how it sort of started.
Yeah, so it's essentially like an air tag on steroids.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to describe it. It's GPS, it's Wi-Fi, it's Bluetooth. Over time, they began to build additional features. So things like steps, activities, sleep, interruptions in sleep, to like rankings and all this other stuff. And I came on board because the way I see the future of dog parenting is the same way that we are attaching ourselves to technology. Like, the humanization of your dog is happening in real time, and being able to understand them and have a centralized experience and app that can tell me everything about my dog is actually really amazing. Like, I get peace of mind with knowing where he is. He goes out with the walker. Yeah, it's a little, I'm spying a little bit, but he goes out with the walker. I know where he is. If something's up, he's not getting enough activity. I know it. Like, there's a little bit of like parallels between Phi and Peloton. You're really getting into the kind of fitness of your dog and the activity around your dog. Make sure they're healthy, while you also have that peace of mind around their security. What's actually been really interesting to me is that the membership, our member base, they come for the tracking, but they stay for everything else.
Uh,
They absolutely love the community. They love the brand. They're super attached because we're building a product that's actually doing good in the world. It's like you're on the side of angels all the time.
yeah.
It's a dog brand. It's dog content.
And so it's sticky because once you go beyond tracking and you want to know, did they get enough exercise? What were their steps? Did they get enough
Correct.
sleep? How healthy is my dog? Like, you kind of don't leave once you have that information about your pet that you love. You're not going to not want that information, right? Like, you don't get a lot of churn.
No, our churn is very low.
Yeah.
And our NPS is very good. But you're right. It becomes very sticky because all that information, all that data is uniquely yours. So you never want to lose it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And at our core, like, we're delivering all these experiences, but we're a data company. Like, the amount of data that we store around your dog and personalize that back to you so you understand your dog really well. And then in addition to that, just like breed specific, like French bulldogs are very different than a lab or a golden. So getting smart recommendations around your particular breed, is also like, it just keeps you there. Then we have like some things that are a little bit more kind of shareable and gamification stuff. So if you go to a dog park, you get an alert that you're at that particular dog park, and all the other dogs that are Phi dogs that go to that dog park, they pop up.
Oh, that's awesome. You can kind of meet people in real life too.
Oh, 100%.
Tell me about the community. How do you build community with this product?
That's one way. The other way is shareables. So if you've seen my Instagram, you've seen me post about being more than anything else. You could share your walks. You could share like summaries of your, like we have Spotify has a year in review. Peloton has a year in review. We don't have it yet, but like we have the monthlies. So these things that are like allow you to share with others, word of mouth, right? Building word of mouth around your dog. Everyone loves to talk about their dog. So the other aspect is we just have a community within. It's like an Instagram, a version of Instagram or TikTok, whatever. Pick your social platform within our own app, and it's really interesting because it's all dog content. Everyone's happy. People are pretending to be their dog and posting videos of the hijinks of their dogs. There's no social currency in our community. Like, Instagram, everyone wants a heart or something.
Yeah.
Here, it's just people just want to post because they love their dog so much, and they just are happy to be around the dog, and they just want to share. And it becomes really cool that way.
What's something that you learned about Bean through the product?
That's a good question. Everything. I mean, from his sleeping habits, which is he sleeps 18 hours a day, to like actually like his interruptions.
God bless him. Yeah.
I know. To his activity. So like, French bulldogs aren't always the most fit breed in the world. But, Bean's kind of jacked. Like, I make sure he's out for his steps. We go for our walks. Like, this product helps keep me accountable, which is another interesting kind of vector of what Phi offers.
So it makes you a better owner because you're like, I only walked him X amount of steps today. That's not enough.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't meet his step goal every day, then I I feel guilty. Like if I'm away for
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
I'm calling, being like, "Hey, Coop, Elisa, can you got he's gonna miss his streak.
Right. That's
He's on a
awesome.
he's on a 45-day streak. I can't have him miss his
Can't screw
streak."
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that other thought of like accountability in there that I really love, and I had that at Peloton too. Like, you have a community that's always inspiring you to kind of keep going. You have instructors that you just wanted to get on the bike and work out with. And in here, it's like I got, like, there he is.
Oh, what's up? What's up, Ian?
I got him that's helping to keep me accountable for both him and me. Like, it gets me outside and walking and, going, getting some air down at the dog park or walking along the water or whatever it may be. But like, yeah, it keeps you motivated.
Do you feel like there's a lot of new features and places that Fi can go?
Yeah, there's a ton of room for like a centralized platform that allows dog parents to have one place to go, not trying to figure out all the bits and pieces in
Yeah.
different ways, but just one place that's going to be able to translate. And think about like, with the advancements in AI, like you could have LLMs that are like having a conversation with you and your dog at some point.
Are you doing a lot with AI, or are you looking to add a lot to the
Yeah.
product?
Yeah. I mean, AI within our company is pervasive. Like every department uses it as a tool, a functional tool. Like for us, I use it on I've used it for everything from our brand strategy and how do we think about our positioning, that it's, I can bounce ideas off of it, to we made custom GPTs for brand tone of voice. So like, a salesperson can go in and say, I want to say this about Fi. And it's like you have your own digital copywriter that's going to give you a pitch and tell you things you can say, things you should not say,
I love
which
that.
is cool. And then on the image front, we've pushed really hard on, how do we manifest this brand to look as real and authentic as possible in imagery that is developed through AI. So like platforms like Midjourney, etc.
Sure.
And we've, a year and a half ago, we were messing around with it, and the dogs didn't look real. But
Yeah.
now we've been able to push it, and
They had an extra paw or something.
yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
there's something in the eyes. You're like, there's nothing in there. But what we use it for is concept. So we'll put out. We do a lot of photography and whatnot. We have a really strong bullpen of photographers and videographers. But you need ideas, and it's a quick way to kind of iterate, come up with a concept, put it on paper, say, okay, that's you and I are very used to like put it in a mood board and
Yeah.
a contact sheet, and the teams are pulling from everywhere on the web. Here, you're really dialing in on what's the angle that I want, and you can see it. Like, it's not like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is going to work. You're almost 100% positive that you can develop a look and feel. That's exactly how it's going to be delivered when you get to a photographer, or you're doing a capture with a director and a videographer.
You've had a interesting career. I'd say it's, focused on pretty innovative products, tech products, kind of circling around community, and then managing teams that are bringing those products and marketing to life. What do you think you're particularly good at that makes you successful?
Maybe this goes back to my origin story, where I have, there's six of us in the family. There's four brothers and a sister, and there's always chaos growing up. I am very good at making decisions in the midst of chaos. Like when things are happening, uh, I kind of enjoy like trying to figure out that problem, and the hard problems that typically might cause anxiety. It's actually a little bit of the opposite for me. Like being that steady hand that can navigate the problem with the company, that can help steer a team into action, and to be able to do it quickly, at times at scale, has always been something that I've enjoyed. I think it's a lot of the reasons why I've been put into these positions, because people have been like, oh yeah, if I put Bryant there, he's going to solve the problem, and I'm not going to have to worry about it as much.
I don't know if you're at that stage with Phi, but when do you determine when you have your internal group do it and when you need an outside party to come in?
That's a really good question. I think it starts with that group knowing what they're supposed to be good at.
Yeah.
And then from there, when you're adding in partners, it's about unlocking new capabilities. So, at Peloton, the beginning stages were, I just want to make sure that this group understands the brand, the design of it, we're curating it. They can make things like toolkits that could be used with partners, but they became like a source of truth, both in how we wrote and how we thought about topography, how we thought about the brand at large, like all that stuff. But the early days, they could not do all the things
Sure.
that a really high performing marketing group has to do to perform. So I think it's fit for purpose first. Like same thing at Phi. We have a really small group in comparison to my past. But that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because they know that they are core to the brand. Yeah. They know that they're in charge of, they're the sharers of design, positioning, art direction, and creativity. They set what that look and feel is. And then you add your partners. So at Peloton, those early days, we didn't have packaging, so we used a partner. You and the Mech team were here to do all of our advertising, right? Because we weren't ready to do that. We couldn't do it. We didn't have the skill set to do it. So my philosophy is, well, you're augmenting your group,
Yeah.
and you're bringing in partners that are going to be part of your family, right? So you get someone that's a company that can be really tight to you and believe in the mission. They can live the brand as much as you do. Then they become like a natural extension. Yeah? It becomes all like one organism, so to speak. But every company is different.
Some companies with the in-house team, there'll be an agency that will pitch the idea against the in-house team, and then the CMO or someone will pick what direction to go in. I don't know if that's a very healthy setup.
No, I don't like that at all. To me, again, you come back to what's that core team within the walls of your company? What's their purpose? And then you're augmenting around them. Like you should never have a pitch against an in-house team and an agency. To me, like that's fundamentally flawed.
It creates no collaboration.
Yeah, it creates a dynamic where there's no trust.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing you need most in the world of marketing, brand building, and creative is trust within your teams.
How do you balance the need for performance-driven work and demands on results, and is the work performing, and more creative innovation or earned media or getting people talking about the brand? Who determines like your KPIs for a particular project? How does that work?
Well, like every place I've been at now, I feel like is acquisition first. But I would say like the biggest thing to me is I don't care whether it's performance or not. Like you are building the brand in every single execution that you do. So it could be the smallest thing that is, more UGC oriented.
Yeah.
Because it works in performance, or content creator because it works in performance. You should be influencing everything that you put out into the world as a brand, with that brand aesthetic you believe in. So it should have some version of a look and feel. It should never be a race to the bottom on like creativity. We should always be pushing. So to me, like you're building brand all the time. Like it really doesn't matter. With that said, there's always KPI. So like in the world that I've lived in the most, you're driving towards CAC, which is a cost to acquire a customer. That's usually your headliner, right? Or ROAS if it's in performance, so return on your advertising spend. But you need balance. So like, where are you getting brand awareness versus your more performance matrix? So like, I like to do them both simultaneously. Like even at Five, we're Series B, so we're smaller in scale. In April, there was National Lost Dog Awareness Day. So we just kind of bootstrapped a fun campaign throughout Manhattan and Brooklyn, which is, we called it, Not Lost Dog. So we put up these posters all throughout the city, and that has nothing to do with like selling collars. It has everything to do with brand building.
Yeah.
Putting your personality out there, putting your brand out there, so it's cool and it's fresh. It's something interesting and unique. So I think you have to do both at the same time. The majority of your investment, typically in my experience, is within like your acquisition marketing.
You've worked on a lot of brands and done a lot. What's one or two things that you've put out into the world that you're most proud of?
Let's see. I think the Barnes and Noble days of like launching Nook, like, I love that period of my professional career. The days of Peloton, like I'm most proud of that team that we built. Like they were special. They won awards for all different types of things, and I loved it on the creative side. Launching multiple products. Peloton Row was one of the last ones. It was kind of soup to nuts. The team did everything. I was really proud of that work that we put out there. The stuff that honestly that we did together.
Yeah.
On the day to day, we would launch like 3-4 different big ad campaigns a year.
It seemed like forever. It was not nonstop work. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the brand campaign.
Yeah,
Everyone has their reasons.
that was great.
Beautiful campaign. One of the top performing campaigns in that company's history. Number 2, the first one still to this day is "Hello, Let's Go."
Is it
You should
really?
know that. Yeah, just performance wise, not scale like
Right.
revenue, but just like pure like performative
Results. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then like even at Five, like this last little thing we did, you know, you love building a muscle within a company, and that all of a sudden you unlocked like a new way of working. And it seems like simple and easy and small, but then when you do it and the company realizes like, oh wait, we can do that. Like those things are kind of really special to be able to do for a company.
Are there anything that you've learned on the in-house out of house partnership that, I don't know, maybe didn't go well that you wouldn't repeat, or ways of working that work really well that you always think about? You kind of mentioned not making it competitive, but making it collaborative. That's like one takeaway I got.
The best teams you get to work with are also the ones that care as much about the product as you do. Like when I think about our relationship, the first person that comes to mind is like a Katrina.
Yeah.
Like Katrina was killer, right? She still is an amazing person, but like she was in it. Yeah. And when you have those partners that live the product and the brand as much as you do, then you just get better work.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone is complementary to one another. You're speaking the same language, right? You're developing a shorthand on how you execute together. So like bringing in people or an organization that really does believe in what you're doing, and they're not just doing it because they're winning a job,
yeah,
but rather they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't like to keep my partners at like too much of an arm's length, because then their ability to care as much as I do is limited.
Right.
So I'd rather pull them in further. Like, the number of conversations you and I had, the number of conversations I had with other partners, like, you want them to like understand the product experience to the point in which they're like, wait, I have an idea to make it better.
They're living and breathing it with you. Yeah. Do you have a mantra or a quote that you always think about, or that you live by, or that you have tattooed on your shoulder? Or
you don't see it then?
Your lower back.
And as you know, I'm from Boston, and I heard this Joe Mazzulla, who's their coach, had mentioned how, Tatum was getting a lot of criticism. And one of the reporters was like, Jason has to, and Mazzulla interrupted and said, no, he gets to.
Yeah.
And immediately it struck me. Like everything, it just changes your headset from a negative to a positive. When you're like, oh my God, I have to do this presentation. Like, I'd say this to anybody now. Like, if you have to get in front of people and your thought process is, I have to, you're actually putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? You're already like thinking of it as a negative, as opposed to the positive, which is, I get to. Like, I get to do that.
That makes it something you want to do versus like a burden.
Right. We have the most joyous profession in the world. For all the pressure and the introverts that all of a sudden became creatives in our agencies, we are makers. And when you're makers, that is very different than a lot of different professions in the world that go to a job and they have to do a task, but they're not creating all the time. We're creating. So like, to me, there's just inherent joy in what we do.
I love it. It's a good shift because it's really about opportunity versus obligation. And it reminds you how lucky you are versus, oh man, this meeting is going to blow and it's going to suck and I got to make a hard decision. But it's like, oh, I have opportunity here, and not a lot of people get that opportunity, and it shouldn't be a burden.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and being on the podcast and sharing all your wisdom. We really appreciate it.
I love it. Love the podcast. Good stuff. You're killing it.
Well, we're doing all right. Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.